Before we get started today, I want to say thank you for every single like, comment, recommendation, and a very special thank you to my listener support group. If you like what we do here at Off the Deep End Podcast, please consider checking out the listener support tab on our channel's anchor link. Without you, we would not be able to continue the great work we're doing with these conversations, breaking down boundaries and helping heal each other by sharing our stories, our trials, our tribulations, and how we process them. Let's jump straight into this episode.
Are you thinking about making a podcast? Spotify has a platform that lets you make one, and if I can figure it out, you definitely can too. You can create your own content all in one place for free with zero hangups and even earn money as soon as you get started. Spotify lets you record and edit episodes from your phone or computer so you can go mobile, just like I enjoy to do. My favorite thing about it is that you can create video episodes if you wish and upload them to wherever podcasts are heard. You can even set up subscriptions or, if you're like me, listener support options for listeners to help you grow. I 10 out of 10 recommend the Spotify for Podcasters app. Or, why don't you just step over to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started on your own podcast. What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the Off the Deep End Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Eddie, and I'm joined today by my brother from the Navy, Mr. Korver himself. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to do this, man. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I appreciate you having me.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. So where did it all start for you? What was young you like?
Young me, growing up, it was me, my mom, my dad. I have an older brother, two younger sisters. Grew up here right below Charlotte, North Carolina, in a town called Rock Hill. Just grew up as a family, moved around a decent little bit around in the same area. Parents divorced at the age of 10. Me and my brother went to live with my dad, and then my two sisters went to go live with my mom, and I've been bouncing around since then, going with the flow.
Yeah, well, that's awesome, dude. I think that it's so important to have a strong value, strong family value. Oh my God, long day at work. Having a strong family value system as you grow and having parents guide you and being a kind of close knit is definitely something that I admire in so many different families around me. I've always wanted that, and I want to create that with my own family. What was one of your favorite memories as a child?
Probably it would be growing up every year. We would always go to Ohio every year, see my extended family on my dad's side, just hanging out with them. Thanksgiving, after we would do Thanksgiving on Thursday, I believe on that Friday, we would do go to like a little area that did a Thanksgiving parade. And then after that, just go to like this pizza place that every year. And that was just always the thing to look forward to. Every year was going up there and doing that.
That's good. I think it's so important to create those memories as a family. I remember one of my favorite memories as a child was every time we watched a movie as a family. Family movie time was really special to me as a child, and I miss it. I wish I could just bring it back. Oh my goodness. So what drove you to the level of insanity like myself where you joined the United States Navy?
At the time, it was 2011 whenever I really started looking into it. I was actually going to join the Navy, and then my stepdad, he's a former Marine, and he's like, look, you just got out of high school, you're 18 years old. He's like, there's a lot of world that's out there to be offered. He's like, take a couple years and enjoy yourself. So I said, okay, whatever. So that's what I did. Told the Navy recruiter to fuck off essentially, and then had a couple of jobs here and there doing some welding fabrication. Got laid off, and I had bills I had to pay. So that was a couple of years later. So in June of 2013 is whenever I joined the Navy, and then August of 2013 is whenever I left off to boot camp. So real life situations happen where you got to pay bills and you got to take care of yourself. So that was the leap of faith I had to take to get out of my small town and away from my family to where I can take care of myself on my own.
What differences do you recognize from people talking about living in big towns versus you living in a small town?
Probably the benefit of living honestly in a small town is everybody knows everybody, but then that's also a negative thing that everybody knows everybody because if you need something in a small town, you got so and so down the road that can help you out. But it's also one of those bad things to where if something happens to you or your family, everybody knows about it. So that's also got its real bad drawbacks. Vice in a big town, in Virginia Beach, it's just like, all right, that's just another person. And, there's no, favoritism or hookup. That happens a lot of times here in these small towns I was very surprised that I got offered a job at the fire department where I live at now because it's such a small town and it's a homie hookup type thing. Like, oh, my uncle works for the fire department or the police department. This position's open up. Go ahead, put your application in. We can get you in there. So that's a benefit, but it's also a drawback. In a big city, you got all kinds of opportunity. In small towns, you really have to rely on a lot of people.
100%. Kind of that community-based living is
Yeah.
how it was described to me by one of my buddies when he went to boot camp with me. So boot camp, while we're on the subject, what was one of your most irritating and most favorite memories or parts about it?
The thing that I hated about it was probably not being able to sleep. That was probably the biggest thing because I was in a 800 type division, so I wasn't in a spec warfare division, but we had girls that were in my division that were going out for it, so we got treated just like the 800 division people. And so they made us stay up late every night and still get up early in the morning. And then that's what I really hated about it. What I loved about it, though, was just getting to know everybody, something different. You got different people from different walks of life, getting to know different people. And that's really what made the big impacts of me that are still friendships going on to this day with people from boot camp.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's one of my my standout moments as well is starting to forge these bonds. They were unlike anything I've ever experienced. I never knew that you could meet somebody who's a stranger and immediately have that very, very strong foundation of common ground, which is
Yeah.
you both signed up for the military. I think that's one of the most powerful bonds you can create in life outside of love and stuff like that. Being forged in a signature together.
Yeah.
Everyone signed up for the situation and be willing to, raise their right hand and say, hey, you know what? Somebody comes knocking on the U.S. doorsteps, they're going to have to deal with all of us.
Yeah. I mean, what's the thing that they always say is like, bonds are created over tormenting times or, in times of trial. And that was definitely boot camp is, you're going through different trials of boot camp and everybody just comes together eventually. It's a Stockholm syndrome realistically type thing where you're just like, all right, I guess this is what it is now. We just got to go with what they say.
100%, 100%. What were your RDCs like?
We had two cool ass ones, and then one she was just awful. She was a she was a STG first class who thought that she was the like hottest thing in town, and so since she was like the lead RDC, she was just like taking it heavy on us because she's a woman, she had to prove herself, and she wanted to show that she could be hard just like the guys, and I knew that she couldn't like really live up to it because my second RDC, he was another first class that was just ready for retirement. So he didn't really care, but he was cool as fuck. And then our last one, he was a second class and he was a FMF corpsman. So that dude was hard as fuck and was just did not give breaks to anybody because he's seen and he's lived in the shit being over there and overseas with the Marines and, seen some real life scenarios that not a lot of people have.
Absolutely. Do you think that, while we're on the subject, do you think that people put on this because this is my experience, people naturally put on a persona that they think they need to fit for a certain job or a certain situation. They try to conform to it and they end up overstepping and it seems more like it's kind of like the cheerleader mentality than the football mentality. When you're playing football, you're in the game. When you're on the sidelines cheering, you make a bunch of noise and right? I've always been have a lot of negative inclinations towards people like that as far as people to look up to. People who are the loudest talkers are you in a dark room usually get shot first and people who are just out there just to abuse their power, not necessarily, but often in the military they abuse their power by trying to make themselves bigger or taller than they appear.
Yeah, I 100% believe that because they want to, fit in with everybody else, or they Just comes with the persona of being in that position of authority to where they think they have to go outside their boundaries or be able to push those boundaries to see what they can get away with at certain times. And then you got, the other people who have actually done it for a while, and then you get called out on it. And they don't really take that criticism too kindly because, they're just trying to do their job like everybody else.
100%.
So I think people can overdo it, but then there's some people that can underdo it. People who just can't conform to it or can't do it, and they just realistically have a bad time because it's not something who they are type thing. So it can also be rough for some people as well.
Mm. Yeah, I can definitely agree with that, man. I've had similar instances. So you're in boot camp, you graduate. What comes next for you?
Comes next, I go 5 minutes down the road to Training Support Command over there. Go through basic engineering Common Core for about a month, and then go through my DC strand to become a damage controlman. During that time, though, after I graduated, there's the government shutdown that happened in 2013. So I was realistically supposed to be out of Great Lakes mid-December, but I didn't leave there until April of 2014 because the government shutdown happened. That pushed everything to the right. I didn't start school until February.
Nice.
Then I got put on a medical hold because I had a cavity that needed to be filled, apparently, like real bad. And so they wouldn't let me start my strand until that was fixed. And then that was finally done. Then I started my strand, and then I made my way out to Norfolk, out there to the good old Theodore Roosevelt.
Oh yes, yes, the best ship in the Navy with the best deployment crew the United States Navy has ever seen. 2015 TR deployment crew. Don't forget, if you listen in, you
100%.
deploy with us. It's okay to be second best. It is what it is. Wow. So, what was your first experience walking up to the ship? Right. Obviously, the pictures don't do it justice of how
No.
giant and 1,028 feet long on the flight deck. That's a lot of feet, right? What was
Yeah.
it like? What was it like when you first seen it?
Oh, seeing it was, you get up there, you want to see where your ship's at. So you just go onto the base just to, get to know it for a little bit. So that way your reporting date, you know exactly where to go. So just going there and actually seeing the ship, it was just all striking. Like, it was like, man, like, I'm a part of this. Like, I get to go work on this thing, and this is just fucking crazy. Like, it's something that I thought I never would be doing for the longest time. I always said that I would never join the military at all, just because it's not something I could see myself doing. But now actually being a part of it is made me pretty happy of things that I have done. But just being there, seeing it in person, it's unrealistic. Like, what the human can do over time and develop things. My first day that I got to the boat, we went out to sea, and that was the worst thing ever because boom, showed up in my dress blues, going out to sea for about 5 days. And I was like, all right, well, I guess this is it. No other chance to, just jump straight into it.
Oh yeah. So what was the culture? I know it was a culture shock because it was definitely one for me. I never expected to walk into the shipyards back in 2020, the start of 2013. It was
Yeah.
Newport News. Oh my goodness. How crazy was it to be sleeping in a room? It was like 20 degrees inside the room. There's a hole in the side of the ship, just a hole. I don't know why. No need for it whatsoever. Just a hole in the side of the ship. And it was blowing freezing cold air because there was a fan in there and there was blowing freezing cold air at me. I woke up with my feet asleep and probably starting to go into the hypothermic stage for sure. And the rest of me was wrapped up in all the uniforms I brought from boot camp. And the next thing I did was buy a sleeping bag. What are some of the things you wish you had brought on board, your first time you walking on?
Oof, the biggest thing is probably snacks.
Oh yeah.
You get to the boat, and then the first day that, like I said, I showed up there, it was on a Friday. So everybody knew on the TR, every Friday was pizza and wings,
Mm.
so and chicken tenders and whatever else. So after that, after the weekend, it gets to be getting served whatever is available, and sometimes the food ain't that great,
Oh
and
yeah.
then you have to submit the paperwork for the ship store and all that stuff to get your little card, and that takes a little bit of time to get in. So like you're stuck with nothing but asking somebody to bump some snacks off of them or some ramen, so that way you can eat that instead of the ship food that's going on there. And so I would say that probably snacks and probably having a hard drive full of movies or TV shows to watch, because obviously on a carrier there's a lot of downtime since our mission's not as big as what small boys and destroyers are.
100%, 100%. And that was really interesting as well. Um, I when I first got there, there was the ships within the yards. So we didn't have a mission to leave the fleet, to leave out and go out into the great beyond, crashing into the waves into the ship. No, no, no. We had a 7-Eleven. We had the next place right across the way, and that's pretty much
Yep.
about it. There was like nothing. It was a barren wasteland. And I had a spot to get my hair cut, but I was new. I was fresh to leaving home. I had no experience, no idea what
Yep.
we were doing. And the shipyard workers were still there and everything. I'm glad you came on when the ship was kind of sea ready.
Oh
Were
yeah.
you there for sea trials as well?
I was there for the back end of sea trials, which was pretty fun. But it also kind of sucked because we also went out to sea a lot during that time to
Oh,
make sure that she was fucking worthy of going out,
hmm
and getting her qualification. So I'm happy that I missed a lot of that front end stuff of going out to sea. And I've heard so many stories of all the electrical fires, all of this breaking, all of that breaking, having to get things fixed, and then still the long working hours, coming in at 7 and then people not leaving till like 10 o'clock at night or even later. I've
yeah.
I've heard the miserable stories of pulling out of the shipyards. I've heard
Oh
them.
my goodness. Oh my goodness. I think the worst thing I've ever seen is somebody I got to watch somebody get electrocuted really, really bad. It was not good.
Ugh.
But that was just one of the experiences we got to see there. It was a shipyard worker and he got lit up. And now working in electrical fields with on elevators and escalators, I never could imagine any of the shit that I saw these people doing ever be done
Yeah,
by myself. Hell to the no. You better figure it out because I'm gonna find some PPE. I'm not gonna die today. It ain't worth
hell
it.
no.
Uh-uh.
Nope.
Never. So you're a DC man, damage control specialist, right?
Yep.
Tell me about that rate for those who are listening and have no idea what the hell a DC man is. So tell me all about it.
So, a lot of people say that us DC men are lazy because everybody has to know how to do our job, which is true. Everybody's got to learn how to be a DC man, because at the end of the day, the ship is your house, and you want to protect your house and be able to know how to put out a fire if it comes to that. But that is my job as shipboard firefighter. We respond to the Alpha Bravo, Charlie, and Delta type fires. We also respond to flooding if the ship runs aground. We respond to the reactor area if something breaks out down there, if a collision happens, if there's a fire on the flight deck with the plane. Um, we also deal with CBR, chemical, biological, and radiological warfare. So we make sure that the whole ship is outfitted with that, and then um, there's a lot of stuff in between there that goes on as well, making sure that all the firefighting systems on the ship works. And that's mainly our job, is just knowing how to put out fires, how to handle them, and teaching people how to do that on the ship. That's our job, is to teach people who are new there the proper ways and techniques and um, proper things to try and put out a fire until we're able to respond and get there before it gets bigger, to try and minimize the damage and everything.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's quite a heavy burden to bear.
Yeah.
I'd never looked at DC men like, oh, they suck or whatever, or they were useless. I understand the need and necessity for firefighters because my family's house has been saved by firefighters, and I grew up in an environment where firefighters were my hero. We used to celebrate with parades. Firefighter Day in Linwood and or Police Day, or they celebrate the different first responders and their
Yeah.
agencies and support them. And I think that's lost. That's lost in a lot of different areas. We forget how great it is to have first responders so that we don't have to deal with things like fires. But on a ship, everybody has a certain job when it comes to general quarters or responding to fires. I know I got to put out one fire on my duty day once all by myself. It was great. A huge electrical fire. I had no idea. I think the smell was disgusting for weeks. But
Yep.
one of my other things is when I think back on it, it was me. So Grover was on watch. I think you remember
Yep.
Grover. Yes,
Yep.
she was on watch on my duty section, and we were still in the yards. There was a gas leak in my berthing, and I smelled something weird, and I started to feel nauseous. So I went and got her, and we evacuated that area where everybody was trying to sleep. A lot of people were not trying to wake up; they were like starting to get out, go out, nod off, even worse than a normal person is supposed to sleep.
Yep.
And thankfully, we got that area secured. After hours of standing in the hangar bay, it was deemed safe to go back in, and it was freezing cold outside. So it was not a great experience, but I'm super thankful that I paid attention in training to be alert and aware of certain instances. And my buddies will still make fun of me to this day, like, "Hey, you should have let me sleep, motherfucker." So, oh man. So, kind of switching gears here a little bit.
All
So
right.
we're leaving here. We're leaving for deployment at this point. What changes when a ship goes into deployment mode versus workout mode?
I would say the workup mode, there's a lot more work that goes into it just because you're getting ready for deployment. You're making sure that everything's working properly, making sure that everything's done how it's supposed to be. So that way, if anything happens, you're able to take care of it because there's no shipyard or anywhere for you to pull in to get things fixed.
Hmm.
So you have to make sure that everything's in working order and making sure that you have all your supply parts and everything that you might need in case something fails. So it's a lot of work that goes into it. And then Vice going up for deployment is it's really relaxed. It's a really nice set schedule. You get up, you go do your cleaning stations, then you go and do your maintenance that you might have in the morning, and then go do some checks and everything to do your maintenance and all that good stuff. And then you go hit some lunch, take a 3 hour break, or at least we did. And
Oh
then,
my God.
and then you go out, do some more work, what needs to be done for the day. And then you shove off for dinner. And then that's it for the day, unless you had general quarters or you had some last minute stuff come up or the other shops that needed help with work, you go help them out to, help them get their jobs done for the day. Just depending on the workload, you had to interact with your reactor. You had to deal with air department on deployment, but not that bad. Just depends on what drills and stuff they were running. So it wasn't too awful. I would say deployment's pretty lax. It's kind of different from the workups. It's one of those things on deployment. You're just waiting for something to go wrong, and then you're just waiting and waiting and waiting, and then finally when something does happen, it's like, all right, this is what we've been training for. Let's go do it. And then you just knock it out of the park, and everybody's like, "Fuck yeah, that's what I'm talking about!" And like it just gets so hyped up.
I love it. I love it. I think there's nothing better than responding to an incident. It lets us be our own hero in our story. And I think not from an egotistical standpoint is a good thing, but it's good to do the right thing at the right time with the right people. And
Yeah,
we talked about earlier forging these bonds between us. I think it's a beautiful thing. I'll never forget the smell of the laundry room fire. Oh
yeah.
my God, that was horrible. Jesus Christ. How much lint buildup do you think they had in those vents?
I couldn't even tell you. I think after that, they shut the laundry down for a couple of days to make sure they had everything cleaned properly,
Oh yeah.
in every laundry system that they had. So it was a good bit. And then that dryer was down, and I believe they actually had to take it out because of how much damage it took on that they had to replace it.
Oh, we splashed it. Yeah, we did. Oh my goodness. Shouldn't have said that. Is what it is. It's the off the coast of Iran now. So one of the great experiences about deployment is you get to see the world and you get to
Yeah,
have great relationships with great people, learn a lot. You see so many things that you would never see in a normal operational capacity, as far as being in the continental United States. What are some of your most breathtaking moments or exciting moments, sad moments, happy moments? You want to shed some light about what it's like to deploy with the United States Navy as you as an individual.
I would say like one of the saddest things I would see is the perspective that the military and a persona we take on. And I say that this is sad because like we're going out. in I believe it was Bahrain, or it might have been Dubai. I can't remember. It's one of the Middle East countries, and somebody asked us, hey, what are you doing here? And I didn't respond to it, but somebody else did, saying like, yeah, we're here with the Navy, and he just looked at us like he feared for his life with us being there. Because
Hmm.
they know what we do. We go there, we bomb the country and or the surrounding countries, and they're scared of us, and that's not the persona that I want to give off or anything, because that's not who I am as a person. So just seeing him and his reaction of hearing that I was in the military really, really put a damper on things, because it was like, wow, people have a different perspective of what we do, because they live it firsthand. We don't.
Mm.
But one of the most exciting things, though, is going to see, like what you said, we get to go see a lot of these different countries, getting to see these with the friends that you make on the ship, going to see these different areas and just enjoy it, because, being on the ship's one thing, but actually going out, having fun with one another, it just makes it a lot more enjoyable. Like, what they always say, embrace the suck. And that's what you do on the ship. You just have to do that. And then whenever you go off the ship, you just let loose, live life, have fun.
Hell yeah, man. And I love that. There's so many great leaders we all were out there too with, and it was nice to see them kind of let their hair down, to say and
Yeah.
not be so frustrated and pissed off and sad, because I notice the longer people stay in the military, they tend to get a little bit of jaded about the fact that that they left their family again. We all don't
Yeah.
know what each other go through. And I think it's important for leaders in the military to understand that we all have a life back home too. We
Yeah.
all left our families, we all left our loved ones, our children, even. How hard is it to leave a
Yeah.
piece of your literal heart behind? It is overwhelmingly difficult. It was hard for me, and I didn't even have kids at the time. So what is some of the things that people don't talk about when it comes to the negatives of deployment that should be talked about more?
Uh, I would say like one of the biggest things is like, like what you said, you leave your family and your loved ones. A lot of people don't talk about, you know, like we knew going and deploying that we would be missing a lot of things, birthdays, anniversaries, um, births, all that stuff. But nobody really talks about it. Whenever we deployed and we got back, I met my daughter and she was 7 months old. You know what I'm saying? Like I missed out on almost a year. And nobody really talks about all the time that you miss out on your kids' lives and your spouse. And then another thing not a lot of people talk about is how just because you're gone, the world doesn't stop. Everything keeps on going. So you're far removed. So we deployed in March of 2015 and came back in November of 15. That's almost a year. Like you had 1 year of your life kind of wiped away from you, from everything you knew, and like you're just stuck back a year in time. And then whenever you get back, you have to catch back up into what's going on. The people who you left behind, they're in a routine and you're trying to be a part of it, but you're just throwing things off. And then
Mm.
that causes some type of miscommunications, or it's causing some type of argument or emotional distress on your relationship. And that's not like what a lot of people talk about. That should be, brought to light a little bit. Like, you're trying to interject yourself, and they've been doing this for 9 months and you're trying to help, and it's like you're more of a burden than you're helping, because they've had it handled. And
Yeah.
that was pretty hard to grasp onto whenever you actually get back.
I've definitely personally felt that situation, and I can definitely agree with you that it's hard to pick up the pieces where you left off. It's almost, I would say, impossible. It's impossible to pick up where you left off. There's no way to
Yeah.
get right back to where you were, and I don't think that you know maybe personally I could personally admit that I've been trying to maybe play catch up and trying to reinsert myself to where I left off, and it's a hard reality to face. You're not the same person you were. They're not the same person they were. They've changed for the better or for worse, and you have to kind of find out who you are now at post
Yeah.
deployment. And I think that kind of even extended after the military for me and a lot of my buddies as well. Um, So what was the aftermath of you coming home like? What was there any of those same similarities you faced?
Yeah, the biggest thing coming back, trying to readjust. You were on a schedule during deployment. You had your, like I said earlier, you woke up, you had your muster, you had cleaning stations, you did your maintenance, you went to lunch, you went back, did whatever work you had for the rest of the day, then you had dinner, and then you come back, and it's like a whole different schedule and routine that you have to get in and get accustomed to. You have to go back in to essentially living a different life. While you're on deployment, you had a certain life, and then getting back, you had to start something new. So being on that train and starting something new, it's a little difficult, a little stressful, because you're just trying to get reacquainted, readjusted with your spouse because you're not able to talk every day or see them, and so you essentially have to start back to dating your spouse again. Getting back, we didn't have a place to live, so my ex-wife, well then my wife, she stayed home in South Carolina with my daughter, with her mom, and then I was stuck up there, house hunting. So that way I could bring them back up. So it was just a little stressful at the time not having the support system with you that you might have needed at the time. I was there lonely, um, and just going from there, just in hopes of or just waiting to get my family back at that point in time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and there's just definitely so many things that we all come to, and it's an individual thing. It's not something that everybody has across the board. We all have our own experiences. We all have our own hardships, but I don't think anybody can honestly say that it's easy to come home, whether or not you had the coolest job ever or a different one. Across the
Yeah.
board for the United States Navy, I think we can all say that there's obstacles that we all face with reintegration. So life after deployment, what was it like for you?
Um, Life after deployment, it was tough. Like what you said, the 2015 deployment was the best. It made me honestly not want to be back. It made me want to be back out at sea again and do that whole thing again. Again, like in boot camp, it was like a Stockholm syndrome. You get used to it. You enjoyed it. You love it. And whenever something like that comes to an end, what do you do? It was like, your purpose came to an end or something of what you were doing. And so, like, granted, it was your time to transition off of it and somebody else would do it, but it was this was a fun type thing. Let's keep the fun going. So it was kind of tough there for a little bit, but then you get reacclimated, you have your family back, you get integrated back into things. So it made it a little bit easier, but it took a few months. Stressful getting back into a routine. But at the end of the day, it became a little bit easier day by day.
Mm. Yeah, I know that I definitely as the days went on, I got to kind of figure out kind of what I was doing. Like, okay, well, this is my life now. I'm a
Yeah,
different person. My family's different. I have to learn how to make my wife love me again. I mean, she loved me, of course, but I have
yeah,
to figure out how to how to show her who I am now, how to be okay with the fact that I've changed because I didn't know I changed. I was just different, and I felt
yep,
kind of off, definitely off for a while. It wasn't until even a couple years ago that I actually started feeling like myself again. There was, I think I went almost a year without feeling like I've laughed. So
yeah.
I definitely felt a little bit of weirdness going on there. So you're you're out of the military now, correct?
No, I'm not out yet. I get out in July, so I still got a couple more months.
Okay, so you're at towards the end, and you're
Yep.
I heard a rumor that they integrated this 180-day program to where you're able to find your job and kind of transition out smoothly.
So, how what that actually is, that's called Skill Bridge, and it's not. It's to help you get with a company that could possibly offer you a full time position. It's not like a guarantee that they're going to give you a job. It's just a program to where they can help you get a skill set to
Hmm.
where you get trained, and then you can, after that 180 days, that you could either they do hire you on, or you can go for another company and things like that. There's been a couple guys I know that have done it. One of them got an internship with Lowe's, and he doesn't even do that anymore. After his skill bridge ended, he's now, I believe, like an HR guy at a construction company. So he went like completely 180 different from what his actual skill bridge program was. So it just depends on the company that you get on with.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Have you thought about, I know your future definitely is involved in firefighting because, and I'm super excited for you because
Yeah.
you just announced it, man. I could not be more excited that you have identified the path that you enjoy and that you want to continue. What draws you to firefighting, man?
Realistically, the reason why I joined the Navy is to be a firefighter. I put in for a job application around 2012 timeframe, and to be a firefighter with one of the places that I got an offer from, and I didn't get hired on. And so one of my buddy's dads, um, his father had just retired from the fire department, and he told me, he's like, "Look, he's like, you're pretty young. He's like, you got a lot of years on you." He's like, if I was you, I would go and I would join the service, and be a firefighter, because that way you're prior military, you'll have experience, and it's a good look. He's like, a lot of the fire municipalities, they like prior service Navy, or um, because they have the training. He's like, not saying that you're not mature. He's like, but this will help out with you getting more mature and more structural, and all that good stuff. So realistically, the reason why I joined is so that way I can do what I'm trying to do right now.
Excellent, excellent. Well, I'm super happy that you're going through with this process, man. I know that you're going to continue to help people. We cannot thank our first responders enough, and I wanted to thank you before you go through this process because I have a bunch of firefighter buddies that live right around the corner from me, and wow, what amazing human beings they are to me. I think there's nothing more important than people feeling the call to walk into tough situations where normal people might fumble or crumble. Also, you're
Yeah,
showing up on the worst day of anyone's life.
anyone's life. Yeah.
Um, and I really admire you for that, my brother. I really do. What does the future look like for you personally? What goals are you shooting towards? What's life been like? How are you doing with this transition that is around the corner? Do you need any help with anything? Any resources I can find for you?
No, I mean, realistically, everything's been a leap of faith. My wife has been very supportive. And I knew that I had to get out of the Navy. Everybody's like, "Oh, well, you're at 9.5, almost 10 years. Why don't you just do, another 10, keep trucking on?" I'm like, "Well, how about you do 10 years and you tell me how you want to feel after 10 years?" But it's been a very stressful process. Um, at this point, it's been a leap of faith, like I've said. And sometimes in life, those are the best decisions that you can make, is that leap
100%.
of faith. Because, if you don't take chances, you're not going to become something that makes you who you are. We all have to take chances in life. You can't just be safe, because if you're safe, then you're comfortable, and you can't live life too comfortable. You have to take those um, different pathways that make you hard. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, safety zones and comfort zones are absolute dead zones for your dreams because you'll never ever
Yep.
ever achieve them with the same situation repeating itself every day. I hate conforming to normal societal standards. I think that we all have greatness that we're meant for.
Yeah.
A lot of people believe in God and they say it's in God's hands. Yes, to a certain extent, but it's also in your hands to chase your dreams.
Yep.
You have to put in the work. Ultimately, you do. I really think that's awesome, man, that you're taking this leap of faith. I think it's awesome that you have a supportive partner as well in it.
Yeah. Having a not having a more supportive partner than what my ex-wife has really helped out a lot. I mean, she's always been there for me, cheering me on. I've been there for her, cheering her on, pushing her to her career that she's going through. So me taking care of everything has been nice. And then now, switching the roles, where she's going to be taking care of, the things for right now, to make sure that I can accomplish my dreams. It's really opened my eyes to what kind of a partner that I have in life. Someone that truly cares about me and loves me and wants me to be better than what I have been. So it's
Wow.
been pretty nice.
That's beautiful, my brother. I love that. I love that for you, and I'm super happy that you're in a different relationship that's going to kind of power you towards your goals. Um, with when someone is in your corner, it's a different type of feeling. You're able to see what you could realistically do when you're not, you could have like the worst day in your life, but as long as you come home to somebody who believes in you, that is literally
Yeah.
it, the best feeling in the world.
Yep.
Well, I'm super excited for you, my brother. Well, I appreciate you coming on and giving your insight. I appreciate you sharing your story. I can't wait to get an update for you after you being firefighter for a little bit. I want to have you on again and make sure to cover your experiences because I don't have enough firefighter stories and I don't have enough real integrated conversations with those who put themselves in harm's way so others don't have to. And there's something really special about you that kind of I recognized earlier on. You always had a good attitude. You never got let anything kind of shake you. Nothing
Yeah.
bothered you. You kept it cool, calm, and collected, and I really admired that about you. It's one of the standout qualities that I think all of our first responders should emulate. And I cannot wait for your future and your first picture in your firefighter's uniform. I know you're gonna get hazed for a while because you're the FNG fucking new
Yeah.
guy, but there's so much bonding in that as well, in that
Yeah.
light hazing. So, man,
Yeah.
congratulations for finding your path, man. I love that.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I greatly appreciate it. It's something that I've been looking forward to. Can't wait, can't wait for it to start. Go through the like what you said, go through the hazing and all that stuff. Be a part of one of the guys. And that's just one of the things about me and my personality is life's too short. My father-in-law passed away a couple weeks ago at the age of 62, 4 months after he actually retired from his job of 45 years. You know what I'm saying? So like you can't live this life too seriously. You have to have fun. You can't hold grudges. You have to live your life to the fullest every day. You can't have any regrets, and that's one of the reasons why I'm taking this leap of faith. I've gotten to where I've outgrown the Navy. The Navy's always going to be there, but my family's not. So, it's time for me to focus on me and my own. So, and this is one of the ways that I can do it, and just being around them, and like I said, living my life to the fullest every day that I can.
Absolutely, my brother. Absolutely. Well, I want to offer my condolences for your lady for the loss of her loved one, and you, of course. There's nothing more difficult to go through than death, and the perspective
Yeah,
that it brings us isn't always positive, but we can always take every life experience has something we can take away from it. And I'm glad you saw light in the darkness. I really am.
yeah,
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your insight. I can't wait to, like I said before, I have to get you back on as soon as after you fight your first couple of fires. I want to hear all about them. I can't wait because
for sure.
it's huge. It's huge what you're doing. I think you should be so proud of yourself. I know your family's proud of you, and I hope that everybody around you is proud to know that you're on this path. This is a very exciting journey to start, and it's new. Why shouldn't it be exciting, right?
Yeah, yeah, it's super exciting. Like big jump. Can't wait to do it. I served my country proudly for almost 10 years, so I think it's time for me to focus on the things that are nearest and dearest to my heart, and that's the communities that keep us that we have to live in. So granted, being in the military, you're protecting the nation. I got to do something that's a little bit closer to home and help the community.
Mm. You're a shining example of service doesn't have to end just because we take off our uniform, and that's what I think is one of the major issues we're facing as a veteran community, and also in the active duty world, leading up to getting out of the military. What is our purpose? What do we do
Yeah,
now? I was this prestigious individual, and now I feel like I'm just a normal person. When really none of us are normal. We've all gone to the best university that the world has to offer, the United States military. It's the best. Why is it the best? Because everything you learn is your choice. You can choose to be the path of the fuck off or the path of the successful individual in the military.
yeah,
And I'm super happy that you chose the second path in there and
yeah.
being successful. So I hope it all transcends directly into what you're doing now, man. And wow, good for you, dude. Good for
I
you.
appreciate it.
Well, shit, man. Well, I really enjoyed having you on, and I want to make sure that we, after we get off here, we plan another date. I don't know, like what do you think? 3 or 4 months away from now, we'll have you on again.
Let's see. I have a job interview tomorrow with the city of Charlotte, for the fire department there. I have one in July for the city of Rock Hill. So I won't be starting anything firefighting yet. So probably September, October probably would be a better bet.
Awesome,
Would
man.
that because that's whenever I'd obviously fully be out and I'd probably be done with training and everything by then.
Excellent. Well let's make sure to link up then. I until then I appreciate your time, my brother.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Thank you. And thank you for everybody listening. This has been another episode of Off the Even Podcast. Make sure you tune back in so you can hear the updated story as it continues. This is another example, like I said before, of service does not have to end just because you got out of the military. If you're listening right now and you're dreading your time in service being up, or you don't know what to do now that you've got out, you don't feel like you have purpose, you do have purpose. Tap into your skills, identify what you want to do, and go after it. You deserve it. You deserve to be happy. You deserve success. Thank you for your service. And as always, thank you for listening. Much love, y'all, and bye-bye.